I just remember being on stage. I remember dancing and then my world just went black. And then I woke up in the hospital the next day. I was completely unaware of what had just happened to me, but I remember dancing with him on stage. And I do remember being in a lot of pain. But I just remember being like, hey, we were just dancing. What happened? I mean, really weren't any signs that day. I was really tired, but we had just been on a red-eye flight from the Dancing with the Stars finale in the middle of a tour. So I was like, I'm just tired. So I kind of napped a little bit that day, but nothing that was alarming. And it was just in the middle of the show. It was like the second act, pretty much in the middle of the second act. So we were almost done with the show. I maybe had 4 or 5 numbers left and then just got an excruciating headache. And I just kept pushing through because that's what we do. The show must go on as dancers. So I was like, it's okay. I'll deal with it after the show. It's fine. I just have a really bad headache. And yeah, and I pushed myself until my body was like, nope, you can't do this anymore.
Hayley is so tough. She's so tough. So for her to be in that much pain, it's, it's something that's like bad. You know what I mean? Really bad. But then when she actually stopped, I remember being in the room with her alone and when waiting to get the CAT scan, I just could sense that. And then she was sort of unconscious and her breathing became almost non-existent. I kept putting my ear to her head and I was like, she's not really breathing properly. And that's one of the things that happens because when the brain swells up, there's nowhere for it to go except for down the spinal cord. And that's where the breathing happens. So essentially cuts off your air supply. So I remember running out and like telling the doctors to come in and to I don't think she's breathing. And so then eventually they had to put, a tube down her throat. But it was, yeah. And by the way, she's still in her costume. We're still like, just came off stage. So you go from these crazy highs from, being, Dancing with the Stars finale and, all this celebration and amazingness. And then we go on stage in front of 4,000 people and it's just loving what we're doing. And then being in the hospital and frantic and just adrenaline and emotions and fear. And then I remember when the doctor said, you just need to go and you need to sleep because you have a long road ahead of you. And I just remember going into, after all that energy, after all that just hecticness for the past 2 days, I remember going to a hotel room and just the hotel room closing behind me and just being in this quiet, empty room. And then it just, everything just like hits you. Yeah, it was crazy.
I remember Derek, one of the first things after he kind of told me what had happened, he sat down at the bottom of my bed and we shared this, I think it was our first post that we did together. And this was like the first piece of information that we shared with everybody. He said, honey, there are so many people thinking about you. There's so many people sending you love and prayers. And that was actually the first time that I started crying. And I remember just bawling my eyes out and just saying, you didn't even have to tell me that. I can feel it. I felt this sense of just overwhelming love and light. And it was honestly one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. You kind of only have 2 choices in a situation like that. You have the option of just being like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Just kind of going down the more negative route. Or you have, what can I do to get better? I was pretty much in pure survival mode. I was like, I knew that I, had to be walking. I had to be back to normal. Like, I was like, this is my only option. Like, I have to get back to who I was. But then even more importantly, I wanted to dance again. I was like, literally, dance is my life. It always has been. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old, and it's what has brought me so much joy and love. It literally brought me my husband. Like, there are so many things the dance has brought me, and I was like, I have to dance again. So I think that was a big motivation for me to be like, okay, what can I do to be better? Like, it is what it is at this point, and how do I just keep going from here? And so Derek mentioned earlier that like there was a lot of gratitude, and you think it's kind of weird that you just had brain surgery and there's so much that feels wrong in all of it. But I was finding all the beauty. I was like, there's so many people that love me around me. There were beautiful days, and we had a cardinal coming to our window every day. There were so many things, so many moments of just beauty. And I couldn't help but recognize it, because I'm like, I could literally sit in this and just be poor me all day long, every single day. But I was like, no, there's so much beauty in this life still, and I want to live for it. I always say that I feel like I'm like 98, 99% back to what I was. But nothing that will hinder me from just doing what I do in everyday life, in my career, in my professional life. Yeah, I feel like I am pretty much there. So it truly is a miracle, and I'm so grateful to be able to do what I love still.
Yeah, no, she's more healed than I am, honestly. One, dancing together was, for me, it was terrifying because I was, just nervous. But with that said, that first show back, I've done so many different types of tours and so many shows, and when she walked out on stage for the first time, man, that was like the most incredible. And in the show, I kind of like present to her, and she walks out in this beautiful red dress, and she just kind of like appears. And that was always in the show. It was just happened to be kind of fit perfectly with what had just happened too, in a way. But the response was just overwhelming. I feel like it was amazing. I mean, yeah, just wow.
It was a feeling that I've truly never felt on stage before. It was there aren't even words for it. Like it was incredible.